It's the Hip Hop Gamer Show. What it is, Hip Hop Gamer Show.
And this leads me to your Street Fighter V review, where you stated it is easily, hands down, the best looking Street Fighter ever. And during your review, you stated, and I quote, gamers, a lot of them are very spoiled and have a sense of entitlement, and it's ugly. If you don't know where you came from or aren't willing to do the history on where we came from when it comes to gaming, then you are never going to truly appreciate how we're moving forward. You went on to say, and I feel that's a big problem in the growth of our culture, not financially, but respectfully, end quote. Now, what do you say to the gamer who feels if they pay $60 for a video game, they are entitled to expect the game to work out of the box and contain the content released in previous versions?
Okay, the first thing I would say is when people spend money on anything, right, you have to know what you're buying. So, for example, right, I got Netflix. I know a lot of people that got Netflix, but Netflix is an online thing. It's a streaming service. So there will come time where you're going to see buffering in the middle of your video. There will come time where you'll lose quality, but then it'll get right back and everything is cool and smooth. But these things will happen. You will encounter them. Why? Because it's the nature of the internet. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, you pay for it, but the nature of the internet, you will always have an issue at some point in time with anything. You know what I'm saying? You could buy a phone and the phone could work and everything like that, but then the phone could break, the phone could mess up, the phone could malfunction. You spent your money, but you're dealing with technology. So how can you even attempt to make it seem like everything that's created within technology should just always run perfect when the nature of the internet is out of your control from a developer standpoint and a consumer standpoint? As of right now, it took me a long time just to be able to do the podcast because Verizon was messing up the internet. So I couldn't even log on. So is it my fault? I paid my money. But do I blame Verizon? Nah, it could be the weather. Like it could be anything. Like I think that right there is very anal. You know what I'm saying? That's one. And the second thing I would say in terms of somebody spending money, you brought Street Fighter 5. You're not buying Street Fighter 4. You're not buying Street Fighter 3. Street Fighter 5 is a different game. And that's what I mean by spoiled gamers. Like if something has been in a game franchise for so long and the creator decided to do things different, allow them to, because they are the creators. If you don't like what they're doing, then vote with your wallet and don't buy it. But if you're gonna buy it, don't tell them how they should make something, because it's the situation where you can't please everybody. Everybody's gonna have something to complain about. Here's the truth. The truth is this: Street Fighter 5, right? Everybody and a mama for so many years. Once Mortal Kombat started showing that story mode the way they was doing it, everybody was like, damn, yo, I wish Street Fighter 5 had a story mode like that. Everybody was wanting that, want that. Street Fighter 4 came out in 2008 in July. It is 2016 now. So for 8 years, people has been like, even probably longer than that, been crying for a story mode, like a real official cinematic story mode to hit Street Fighter 5. Now we finally get it. It's coming out in June, but now we finally get it. And now that we finally got that, people still find something to complain about. Oh, the story mode and this and that, or it ain't what arcade mode was. You complained about arcade mode the way it was. Now they're giving you something better. Now you complain that this ain't there. It's no matter what people do, people always gonna have something to complain about. You know what I'm saying? Now, another thing to go deeper with the $60, when you buy a game and you want it to work, right? When you play Street Fighter 5, was there any performance issues in terms of frame rate drops and screen tearing and things like that? Nope, the joint performed like a dream. Graphically, it looks phenomenal. It plays great. All these other things. People talked about they don't have anything for the casuals. That's a lie. Casuals, let me tell you, casuals and hardcore gamers is defined by the gamer And secondly, is defined by the setting of a game. But gamers define something. For example, you can have a person that plays Street Fighter once every 3 months. That's a casual Street Fighter player. But then you can have somebody that play Tetris every day for like 5 hours straight. He's a hardcore or she's a hardcore Tetris player. Hardcore gamers and casual gamers are defined by the person, defined by the gamer. It's not defined by the game itself. You know what I'm saying? You have people that's in the Guinness Book of World Records for Donkey Kong, but other people will probably look at Donkey Kong like a casual game, but that particular person plays it like a hardcore game. So it's all about the player that determines what's hardcore and casual. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? So that's that. Now to finalize what I'm saying, in Street Fighter 5, you have the first day when it came out, the servers had crashed.
Yeah.
It was down for a day or a
Hmm.
day and a half at tops, but it was down for that. Then they had a few hours where they did a maintenance thing where they made an announcement, and the game has been smooth ever since. So my thing is, for a game to come out and it went down for a day and a half, and then it went back up and it's been great ever since. Damn, they are on their job. Let them work. Like, if you, Mamacita, with what you have right now with your podcast, right? Let's say somebody's listening to it and they said, "Oh, the podcast, oh, it sucks. You shouldn't do this no more. You whack this and that." Like, that's not how you attack someone if you're trying to so-called make them better or make them do something that you want. You don't approach it like that. You approach it saying, "Mamacita, look, I love the show, but I think you should buy this blue mic. This blue mic will help you sound better and it make the audience love what you got to do more." Like, be supportive, be positive.
Hmm.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying don't talk about what you upset about, but talk about it in a way where it's supportive, so you could get what you want and more because of your approach. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Okay. Well, Capcom's Yoshinori Ono did issue an apology for its server issues.
Right?
Issues. Do you feel that was necessary?
Nope. I'm gonna tell you why that's not necessary. Right? Because to me, that was a PR move to appease the audience because people feel like I spent money, this and that. Let me tell you something about all this whole spending money shit. Nobody put a gun in your head and told you buy Street Fighter 5. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you ain't want to buy it, don't buy it. But if you buy it, know what you're buying and deal with it. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's the first thing. The second thing is when it comes to, spending money, a lot of these developers, like, here's a misconception. A lot of these developers work overtime and don't get paid overtime, but they do it to make sure the game is like at its best. A lot of times developers get deadlines and they get cut short, and they even tell their publishers, "Look, it's not ready yet, don't put it out." And the publishers be like, "Nope, we got to put it out, period, because our stockholders." Like, there's a lot of stuff that go on behind the scenes dealing with money, decisions, and everything that a lot of these gamers don't know about. Now that I got the privilege to know both sides of the story, like, they need us more than ever to make certain things happen, and that's what I'm trying to educate and make people understand. But nobody want to hear it because they felt they spent money this, they spent money that. I'm like, oh, word, okay. So here's what I would do. I would tell I would tell anybody right now, if you work at a clothing store, you work anywhere, and your boss tell you, "Look, I need you to work overtime, whatever, right? But I can't pay you, but I need you to do this," and stuff like that. There's a lot of people that be like, "What? I ain't doing it. You ain't paying me. I ain't doing it." You want to know why? Because they don't have no passion for the culture of working in that store. They don't care about it. They just there to get a check and that's it. A lot of these game developers, they are passionate about what they do. So they would work overtime and not get paid to make sure y'all are happy. And in return, they get a shit storm. They don't got to apologize for that. Like, you know what I'm saying? It ain't fair. Like, it ain't right. Like, we make the industry, we shape the industry, we push that joint forward. So if there's something wrong with the game, yeah, tell them that, "Hey, this is wrong. We need you to fix it." But approach it in a way where it's respectful so that it'll and make them want to do it that much more.
So it
That's all I'm
is.
saying.
So it is, in your opinion, Street Fighter V's 16 characters, 10 stages, a survival mode, and an upcoming cinematic story to be released as free DLC in June 2016 should indeed suffice anyone's concerns about the game's lack of content?
Well, here's my thing. I don't feel it's lacking any content at all. Like it's not lacking anything. Like, see, here's the problem, right? I'm gonna give you an analogy. LeBron James got 2 rings, Finals MVP, NBA MVP, and all this other stuff, right? When you look at his resume and you just look at only at his resume, it's like, wow, this guy's amazing. But then if you compare his resume to Michael Jordan, then LeBron don't look as good. So I feel that people are so focused on comparing things that they don't appreciate what they actually got. For example, Mama Sita, on your podcast right now, right? You got a great podcast that you're working on here that you're doing. Now, let's say somebody will look at it and be like, yo, this is amazing. But then let's say they'll look at Kind of Funny Games or Podcast Beyond, and they're like, oh, well, it ain't no Podcast Beyond. So why should you be devalued when by people comparing you to other things? Why can't you just be great at what you do? And that's good enough. You see what I'm saying? People do that all the time. People always try to devalue and discredit people because they're not other people. They're not meant to be that. Street Fighter 5 is not meant to be Street Fighter 4. So if you're looking at Street Fighter 5 for what it is, and now let's do this, right? Street Fighter 4, what does Street Fighter 4 has? It has arcade mode, it has online mode, it had your verses, your what else? I'm trying to think on the top of my head. It was another mode that they had as well. Training. You had training mode and stuff like that, right? In Street Fighter 5, what do you got? You got story mode, which they told you before the game came out was that this story mode was just to give you a brief synopsis. It's just an easy mode to give you a brief synopsis of what's coming in June with the cinematic. So they already told you that before the game came out, and that's exactly what it is. Okay, so that's there. Then you got survival mode, you got training mode, and you got network mode and stuff like that. So if you want to compare just modes, it's pretty much the same things there. The only thing is in Street Fighter, Ultra Street Fighter 4, there's no survival mode. Where in survival mode, you got that in Street Fighter 5. So there's something that Street Fighter 4 don't got that Street Fighter 5 does have. I don't hear nobody talk about that when you make comparisons. You see what I'm saying? And on top of that, the graphics are way better. The gameplay is way better and fluid. That don't go a long way. I don't get it. Like, where is the complaints at? And then another thing is Ultra Street Fighter 4, that wasn't the Street Fighter 4 game that came out the gate. When Street Fighter 4 started, I think it had 20 characters, not 16, but I think it had 20 characters when it first came out. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like people like forget real fast when they do these comparisons. There's nothing wrong with Street Fighter 5. If you ask anybody, even in the chat right now, ask anybody what is wrong with Street Fighter 5 when you play the core game. What is wrong with it? And if you want to make comparisons, look at Street Fighter 2 The World Warrior back in the day in 1990. All you had was game start and a versus mode. And people played that Mamacita. People, the moment Street Fighter 2 The World Warrior was out of the arcade and on Super Nintendo at the house, everybody and a mama's mama was going crazy. All they cared about was playing the game, playing with their friends, and that's it. There was no online. There was none of that. It was just game start and versus. And you know how much people pay for that? $60, $70, $50 for that game. And you know what they did when they came home? They played the hell out of it and enjoyed every minute of it. Want to know why? Because back in the day, there was a different appreciation for games as opposed to now. That's why I started that hashtag For You Gamers. Because if you don't respect where you came from and see how forward we moved, you're never going to appreciate anything.
Okay. Review Tech US, a YouTube personality, stated your defense of Street Fighter 5 is absolutely disastrous and flawed. What's your take on that?
Well, I reached out to Richie, so we're gonna have a live debate very soon. We just got to get our schedules right, but we're gonna have a live debate very soon. But here's what I would say to this, right? He would say that he said that my argument is disastrous and flawed. And here's what I feel is disastrous and flawed in terms of the way I look at the way Street Fighter 5 has been handled. This is a game where the first thing that everybody asks for in terms of cinematic story mode, this is the first time Street Fighter 5, this is the first time Street Fighter in its franchise history is doing something that y'all asked for. That's not disastrous. That's not flawed. That's the first thing. Second thing, if you want to play the game in like a single player mode that people was talking about didn't exist, okay, when you play in survival, that's a single player mode, and you go through all the characters, and you got to continue to survive, and you go off a point system, which is very cool and very unique and very different. That's a single player mode. So when people say there's no single player mode, that's a lie, because there it is right there. When people want to play against somebody, you got versus mode, and that's the traditional 2 round joint, whatever, whatever. You want to go online and play somebody, you can, and it works great. And as you can see, as you can see when you go on Street Fighter 5, you see the cities and the map is all lit up because everybody's playing it like crazy. That's the fourth thing. The fifth thing to review Tech USA is everybody, Mama Sita, word to everything. Everybody that I spoke to about Street Fighter 5, I said, look, if you don't like it that much and you complaining that much, why I still see you earning trophies in the game? Why do I still see you playing it? Why are you doing anything with this game? See, here's the problem with the whole $60 paying for it and everything that people were saying, disastrous, stuff like that. You can't put a price on your enjoyment. Mama Sita, I'll give you an example. If you take your child to Chuck E. Cheese, or if you went to a movie, or you do anything, right, and it costs money, if you enjoyed whatever you're doing, you're not thinking about the money you spent. You're thinking about the moments that was created, having fun and enjoying it. When you leave a good, like people that went to see Deadpool, they ain't leave Deadpool saying, damn, I spent $15. They left Deadpool saying, yo, this movie was crazy. Oh my God. You know what I'm saying? They're not thinking about that. Everybody that's playing Street Fighter 5 right now, that's talking shit, they playing the game right now and making videos talk about, yo, look, I just got this KO. Oh, look at this. Oh, my V trigger. Oh, they enjoying themselves. They're having a great time. Anytime you have those great moments, them close fighting battles and everything like that, watching Evo, all that other stuff, that's gaming culture. That's what we love. So if I spend $60 on a game and I'm able to play it, play with my friends, play by myself, and just enjoy it, it's well worth the money every time. And then another thing I'm gonna talk about money is back in the day when Street Fighter 2 came out, when you wanted Super Street Fighter 2, you had to pay another $60, another $70, another $50, whatever. When you wanted Street Fighter 2 Turbo, you had to pay another $50, another $60. Nowadays, you could spend, you got bigger budget games and all this other stuff, right? But you could spend $60 on a game, get a season pass for like $10, $20, and that's all you need. So for $80, you'll get everything. Whereas back in the day, because you didn't have the internet, you couldn't update, couldn't patch, couldn't do none of that stuff. Every little update they made back in the day, you had to pay full price for every time. Every time. But people that didn't live that era don't understand it. So they wouldn't appreciate it. So it's up to people like myself and other people that come from that era to educate, to make people understand. That's why when you hear me talk, it's out of a different appreciation, because I live things that these other people didn't live or understand or don't even follow or have digested yet.